So that dimension which I am referring to as a source of creation right now, what is its nature? Which is what I believe scientists are trying to figure out in some way. So, if I have to describe it in some articulation, we can only say it's nothingness. When I say nothingness, the moment I say nothingness, immediately in normal English language it has a negative connotation of not being anything or not worth anything. If I say you are nothing, it is understood as you're no good. So I'm not referring to nothing in that sense. Probably we would understand it better if you put a hyphen between no and thing. It is not a thing. It is non-physical in nature. So whatever you try to say about it in definition or in description is bound to be wrong even before you utter it, because it's non-physical in nature. So this non-physical nature, if you look at it, it has a fringe nature. It has a core nature which is absolutely non-physical, and it has a fringe nature which is dark, and it's a transition from non-physical to physical. I don't know, we should ask an ophthalmologist why it is so, but when I really look at the sun or even the moon, particularly when I see the moon, people always… the sun is very much true, but it could be because you are getting blinded by the sun, which I don't, because I used to just stare at the sun for hours at one time. I always see a black halo around the sun, not a white halo. The same with the moon. I think I've asked so many people, they all see white halo. But I always see a black halo around the sun because I see the same thing within myself. Probably people will think I'm the devil if I say this. The very core of what this is, around that there's always a black halo. And this halo gradually is transiting from non-physical nature to physical nature, which is dark in nature. So, we traditionally, in yogic terminology, we say, Shiva, when he sits still, he is nothing. The word Shiva means, Shiva means that which is not. That is, he is not. What is creation, what is not is the source of creation. So when you look at this aspect, the very core aspect is a non-existence. And immediately next to that, before the physicality happens, there is a dark face. We call something dark, and always in language and literature and in normal social connotation, the word dark is always understood as remote or even threatening or dangerous or negative. This is essentially because of the way our visual apparatus are made. Suppose you were an owl, you always would think dark as a very bright thing. So, the human perspective of dark being a negative aspect is a very limited way of looking at it. Our sense of vision, essentially. So when I say because of lack of terminology, or if I invent a new word, it won't be any better than dark, so I settle for dark. So this dark dimension is where you can understand the nature of creation. Beyond that, the total non-existent state, that is not a place to understand, that's a place to just merge, which is not the interest of a scientist. And mathematics will not go there. So, in the yogic tradition, we say when he moves, Shiva is a dark one. Always Shiva has been referred to as a dark one. In his ultimate state of Shiva, as Sadashiva, he is utterly still and nobody can feel him unless you're willing to become one with it. But when he moves, his initial phase of movement is dark. When he really comes out and becomes a part of the world, then he is light. So this is, in my perception, somewhere, people who saw the nature of creation within themselves are trying to explain this in a personified way. In his core, he's absolutely still. You cannot know where he is. You can only become one with him. If you're willing to be sucked into him, it's all right. But if you want to, in any way transact with him, it is not possible there. But when he begins to stir, he's dark. There, if you want to go, you need courage. You are willing to transcend. You're willing to leave everything that you know and enter into a completely different area where you do not know what's the end for you. Or if you want to transact with him properly, when he becomes light, which is creation, you can transact with him, you can see everything as Shiva and experience it, you can be devout about it, you can worship it, all that. But when you go to the dark phase or beyond that, there is no worship.
Understanding of forces and particles.
We have experiments where, in absolute vacuum state, if you apply electromagnetic force, suddenly virtual protons and virtual neutrons
particles
happen.
come, yes.
It doesn't even have to touch.
Yes.
Just around that, if you apply electromagnetic force, virtual protons and virtual neutrons happen. So he said, what you're saying is very similar. She just goes around and creation begins.
The spontaneous creation of particles happen.